So I don't know what has been going on with Spectrum's internet lately, but it did this to me during the State of the Union. We were able to stay on the original stream for that one somehow, but yeah, it goes off for a moment, and it's not the computer like it used to be, and that used to knock us off before, as far as I know. But we're gonna keep going with what we're going with because we've still got a lot to go over here. So we're here for the exciting conclusion of Contemporary. Let's get started. Live chat back up here, and we are back. We got more viewers this time through, so thank you for that, everybody who's coming in for that. And let's get started. All right. So anyway, where we left off, we were talking about Shell and how they're getting sued. And when I looked over and noticed, one of the things that I was saying was that there seems to be people who are, they're doing this for climate change reasons and political reasons, obviously. But what's happening with this is while they're doing so, they are they're using the point of lost profits, because apparently oil is going to go so far down that they're going to lose all their profits from being invested in them. I don't think this has teeth because they are freely invested in the company. They can take their investments elsewhere if they really think this is going to be that big of a problem. But yeah, this is all political at this point. All right, let's grab one from CNN. From CNN Politics, Florida House approves plan to give DeSantis new power over Disney. From Stephen Contorno. And by the way, I cut the Instagram stream as soon as we started going down too, so I'll get that shared out for those of you who want to be on the Instagram side. Florida lawmakers voted Thursday to give Ron DeSantis new power over the state's most iconic theme park amid his ongoing feud with Disney. Under a fast-tracked bill that could be headed to the Republican governor's desk by the end of the week, the state could take over the Reedy Creek Improvement District, the 55-year-old government body that has effectively given Disney control over the land around its Orlando area theme parks. The district's existing board, made up of individuals with close ties to Disney, would be replaced by a 5-member board handpicked by DeSantis. The State House, where Republicans hold a supermajority, passed the measure on an 82-31 vote. The GOP-led state Senate is expected to take up the bill within the next 36 hours. If the measure passes the chamber, it will go to DeSantis for final approval. He is expected to sign it. There's a new sheriff in town, and that's just the way it's going to be, DeSantis said at a Wednesday's news conference. Democrats on Thursday warned that DeSantis could wield his board picks over Disney executives if he clashes again with the entertainment giant as he continues his crackdown on wokeness. State Rep Rita Harris pointed to Disney's recently changing its Splash Mountain ride to remove references to racist themes, a move that sparked some conservative backlash. It will become Tiana's Bayou Adventure, a ride celebrating Disney's first black princess. What if the governor didn't like that, Harris said during a debate. Would the board be then able to push a company into changing its business model so that they don't misalign them? This is not the free market. The move to take over Reedy Creek is the latest step in a year-long spat between Disney and DeSantis over a bill to restrict certain classroom instructions about sexual orientation and gender identity. DeSantis signed the bill into law over the objections of Disney's then CEO Bob Chapek. Disney, in a statement, vowed to help get the law repealed or struck down by courts. DeSantis responded to the threat by calling on lawmakers to strip Disney of its special governing powers, which they did in a special session last year, voting to dissolve the Reedy Creek Improvement District at the end of May 2023. However, while DeSantis quickly turned his takedown of Disney into fodder for stump speeches and fundraising emails, lawmakers at the time failed to address what would come next for a special district. Neither DeSantis nor lawmakers outlined a plan to unwind a half-century of Disney control, for how to ensure Orange and Osceola County residents wouldn't be on the hook for funding Reedy Creek services or its $1 billion in debt. Amid the fallout, Reedy Creek told its bondholders that Florida could not dissolve the district without assuming its debts, or it would violate the 1967 state law that created the district. Fitch rating groups put Reedy Creek Improvement District's debt on watch for a negative bond rating. which is, by the way, going to be devastating if you hold Disney stock. That is going to be absolutely devastating if you hold Disney stock. Now, I don't like this, especially given the fact that it's the state that is putting their, it's Ron DeSantis' hand-picked people that are going into there. If this is going to become a regular municipality, like any other municipality at this point, number one, there has to be a conversation, as they pointed out, between Orlando and Osceola counties on who's going to take up the debt, because there's a lot of that. And there should be an election of board members, because this is leaving its. This is no longer going to be an independent district that has special governance powers. This is going to be any other municipality which will fall under any other Florida state constitutional law. And yes, you should be able to pick your own representatives, not have the governor pick them for you. That being said, the most hilarious thing to come out of this is going to be Point DeSantis. Still, in spite of my objections to everything else to this, Point DeSantis, because DeSantis vows to have Disney pay its fair share of taxes. There's a new sheriff in town. That's right. Ron DeSantis has convinced the left to beg for $1 billion plus, probably close to $1 trillion company to be able to cheat on its taxes, or what they call cheating on their taxes, but actually have their taxes affected by legal means that were voted on by the counties of Osceola and Orange and Orlando and the state of Florida. But there's still, it is so sweet to see them calling for special tax breaks for billion-dollar companies that they like, while demanding that all other billionaires in the world pay their fair share. Is there even a chest anymore? Let me have a look. There's not much in it, but yeah, there's a chest. Alright, from Evan Axelbrink, though. Let's get rid of this. There's a new sheriff in town, the governor said during a press conference in Ocala. That's just the way it's going to be. A bill proposed by Republicans would keep the special taxing district in place but give it a new name and create a 5-person board whose members would all be appointed by the governor. The governor insists this is the way to more closely monitor the district without taxpayers taking on Disney's financial obligations. They're not going to have their own government, said DeSantis. Disney is going to pay its fair share of taxes, and Disney is going to honor the debt. But Florida Democrats point out that all this all came up because Disney criticized new rules on how sexual orientation is discussed in public schools between kindergarten and 3rd grades. They say the bill effectively makes Disney's district a political pawn of the governor. It doesn't actually do anything to curb back any of Disney's special perks, let alone close corporate tax loopholes, said State Rep. Anna Escamani of Orlando. Escamani filed an amendment that could place the mayors of Orange County, Orlando, and Kissimmee on the board, along with the chair of the Osceola County Commission. Once again, the big thing with this would be to make it just like any other municipality. And by the way, there are enough people and there's enough revenue in Disney to make the Reedy Creek District its own, just a standard municipality, liable for all the taxes and revenue. And by the way, that would make Florida rich. If Reedy Creek was treated like a normal municipality. does acknowledge her proposal has little chance of passing. Florida Republicans will continue to rubber stamp whatever DeSantis wants because they have no spine and they're scared of DeSantis, said Escamani. Well, come on, I thought again, Escamani, that you were all for billionaires paying their fair share. But the governor says that by having closer oversight, the state may get a more accurate picture of how much Disney's land is worth and how efficiently they provide services. There's a provision in there that they can correct me that actually gives the state the ability to tax Disney for a lot of benefits that they accrued over the years. And so they'll actually be subject to more ability to be taxed, said DeSantis. And for the first time, again, our friends on the left want billionaires to not pay their fair share. So, that's what they have for that. Alright, from the Hill, going on to the debt ceiling. I only have one debt ceiling article today. Here are the spending cuts Republicans have pitched in a debt limit talk. From Aris Folly. President Biden ripped Republicans during his State of the Union address for efforts to use the nation's debt ceiling as leverage to extract spending cuts from Democrats. Some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans, Biden said Tuesday, as the White House gears up for a budget battle with the House Republicans. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plans as well. I really mean it. Lawmakers have yet to unify around a specific plan to cut spending and reduce the debt in exchange for lifting the borrowing limit. With just 4 months until the Treasury Department would run out of ways to stave off default, time is running down for Republicans to find common ground among each other, let alone Democrats. But here are some of their ideas. 1. Budget caps. Kevin McCarthy has voiced support for limits on how discretionary funding after he agreed to work towards a balanced budget in 10 years, as part of the concessions he made with GOP rebels to secure the speakership. Well, that's what I think we need to do. The unfortunate part of this is that, yes, they need to go back and cut the budget caps, but about the time they get to that point and about the time the American people are satisfied, there's going to be another reason to go to war and have the mainstream media rally everybody on board so we can go spend more money. I've never even tried to get a payout, by the way, from DLI. I've tried to, but it's a very convoluted process. I am eligible for payout, and there's actually a decent amount of money there for me. It's such a convoluted process to get there. But also, thank you for all the donations there. Work requirements. There has been some early chatter around work requirements for safety net programs, specifically Medicaid and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Matt Gaetz told Semaphore that he's begun socializing a pitch to other Republicans that involves a work requirement for Medicaid. Others have expressed openness to the idea. I think generally able-bodied people that don't have small kids and meet all the criteria should be seeking work, said Don Bacon of Nebraska, a Republican moderate, saying that he was open to the idea. What would make this really easy would be if you took SNAP and food stamps out of the federal government and put it onto the states, and let the states and localities decide what they want for work requirements. Pinko Pox relief funds. Some Republicans are looking to take back unspent Pinko Pox pandemic relief funds from the state governments as they plot their next step in talks. Tom Cole, the chair of the House Republican Rules Committee, told NBC that the idea ought to be on the table. and certainly could fit into whatever legislative deal the Republicans hope to strike with Democrats in the coming months. Yeah, that use it or lose it kind of thing should be in place. So either the municipalities and state governments that got them should be using them to improve their states or their municipalities, or they should be giving it back to the government. That should be a no-brainer right there. And there should be some sort of accountability for how they use them as well. I'm not just saying go spend it willy-nilly because you have it. I'm saying if you don't spend it properly, if they find that there's fraud or you're enriching your buddies or doing no-bid contracts with your buddies or things like that, then yeah, you should be on the hook for that and give it back to the government. But some Republicans are concerned they could face legal hurdles and opposition from Democrat lawmakers who are less willing to claw back the money. And entitlements. Yeah, they're going to keep lying about that too. They're going to keep lying about the fact, and I'm not going to go into this because I spent so much time on it last night, but they're going to keep lying about the fact that Republicans want to end Social Security and Medicare. But that's what they've supposedly unveiled. Good ideas, for the most part. I think they've got reasonable ability to pass, too. From Politico, some more Biden document news. Biden on documents. People packing offices didn't do the kind of job that that should have been done. There's some stuff about this, and I haven't pre-read it, but both The Blaze and the New York Post both claim that Biden's hiding something with this. But this is from Olivia Olander. President Biden shifted some of the blame for his document-related troubles to the people who packed his offices when asked Wednesday about the discovery of classified materials in his possession. Dude, that's worse. Because we're going to need to know the security clearance of every single person who packed the boxes. What was not done well is they packed up my offices to move them. Which, by the way, this is also the buck stops with me president. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. They didn't do the kind of job that they should have, and to go thoroughly through every piece of literature that's there, Biden told Judy Woodruff on PBS's NewsHour. Biden did not give any additional specifics about the packing of the material in question. The president has been mostly tight-lipped about the materials taken from his personal office and homes, citing an ongoing Justice Department investigation. His comment on Wednesday marked one of his first public statements on what may have gone wrong as the materials were handled. Dude, that is worse. See, with the Donald, outside of his ability to declassify in and of itself, he was very open about the fact that, no, I took them, just threw them into boxes, but it was me, I did it here. We got them out of there, we got them back. And I put them, once I found out that they were classified, put them in a secret safe, put the extra lock on like the National Archives told me to do. Whereas with Biden, it's like, hey, come on, man, it was the movers. I have no responsibility on this. But the buck stops with him. From The Blaze, Biden makes eyebrow-raising admission about the documents seized from his home and then blames staffers. So we got the second part of this. Let's see what the admission is from Chris Enlow. President Biden admitted Wednesday that at least one document seized by federal investigators from his private residence in Wilmington is nearly 50 years old. By the way, do we have a video of this? Yes, and they queued it up. So we'll go check that out in just a second. At the end of an interview with Biden, PBS anchor Judy Woodruff asked the president why his condemnation of former President Trump for retaining classified documents Biden called it totally irresponsible does not apply to him. Let's listen. Mostly because I'm thirsty, but let's listen.
Documents it's clear there's a difference between the way you've handled this and former President Trump. You've cooperated with the archives, with the FBI. But I want to ask you quickly about what you said last September. You said just possessing classified documents is, you said, totally irresponsible. So what was totally irresponsible about the fact that you had some?
What they've informed me not to speak to this issue to any way try to prejudice the investigation that's going on. But what I was talking about was what was laid out. All these documents were top secret, code word, and all the rest. I'm not at liberty, and I'm not even sure. I made voluntarily, no one's had to threaten to do anything. Voluntarily open every single aperture I have with the house, offices, everything, for them to come and look and spend hours searching my home. Invited them. Nobody. And so, and the best of my knowledge, the kinds of things they picked up are things that from 1974, and stray papers. There may be something else I don't know. But one of the things that happened is that what was not done well is as they packed up my offices to move them, they didn't do the kind of job that should have been done to go thoroughly through every single piece of literature that's there. Right. But I just let the investigation have, decide what's going on, and we'll see what happens.
Last question, Mr. President. Every indication you're running for re-election. You have.
So, and again, this is a point to bring with this, is the fact that, yeah, this is coming from 74, where Biden was not a president, a vice president. There was clearly no way to declassify anything. And, of course, we will never know what's in the papers. And that's the hard part of this. And I said this during the Trump documents, too. And I called our friends to the left out for using this as their attack line, as their byline. I called them directly out for this. We, the people, will never see what is in these documents. I don't even know how you try this. If they come back to try to do this by trial, because nobody on the jury can see the documents. They're classified. They're heavily classified. It literally has to be just trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. They're bad, and they're classified. This is an op-ed from the Post. So this is an opinion, no author given, but this is an opinion by the Post editorial board. This is not official green check verified news. This is not necessarily the opinion of the New York Post itself, Contemporary, Turns of Pages Productions, or your host. But this was relevant to the conversation we're having here, so I wanted to touch on this for a moment. Biden sure sounds like he's hiding something on classified documents. We still don't know what's in the classified documents that have popped up in President Biden's home and old office, but he is sure sounding like he has something to hide. After weeks of insisting that he doesn't know what's in the cache after cache of classified documents squirreled away at his think tank, office, and private home, and his lawyers have told him not to ask, he suddenly said to PBS they're just stray papers from 74. He's also insisting it must have been staffers that did the wrong. That may explain him recalling nothing except some of the docs were apparently in a folder with other material he wrote for about his time as Veep. Actually, his remark was so hedged that it really said nothing. To the best of my knowledge, the kinds of things they picked up that are from 1974 in straight papers, there may be something else I don't know. Emphasis added. And none of that explains why he sent lawyers, themselves lacking clearances to handle classified documents, to sniff around his old files, or why either the White House or the DOJ stopped the National Archives from mentioning it the first find in November. By the way, his staffers didn't do the kind of job that should have been done packing up his White House office, as he claims. That's his fault as their boss, and who works in the White House and doesn't know how to handle classified documents anyway. All this follows the earlier no regrets line which amounts to these laws are for little people and ignores the fact that influence peddling, first son Hunter Biden, had access to Wilmington garage, not garbage, where the documents might have been tossed. At the very least, Mr. President, stop playing the victim. Yeah, there is an awful lot of blame for the buck stops here president. There's one from the Hill, and we're going to go for just a little bit longer, but again, everything past the restream icon here is stuff I like and stuff that I hate. And I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for that. From the Hill, Government Accountability Board finds 3 Biden admin officials are in their acting positions unlawfully. From Alex Gangitano. Yeah, I'm actually not a fan myself of the whole acting positions thing. Three officials, the Biden admin, are serving in their positions unlawfully because they've exceeded the amount of time officials can use the acting title, the Government Accountability Office determined on Wednesday. The positions, the acting controller at the Office of Management and Budget, the acting director at the DOJ's Office of Violence Against Women, and the acting general counsel of the Federal Labor Relations Authority, have had acting directors for too long, government executives first reported on Wednesday. The GAO determined that the 3 officials have been serving since November 2021 and therefore have exceeded the limit. The office issued letters spelling out the violations to President Biden and Congress. The GAO's decision was based on the 1998 law, the Federal Vacancies Reform Act, that says presidents can name officials to an acting role for 210 days after the role becomes vacant or 300 days after the presidential inauguration. Yeah, we've been at a little bit more than that. And why? Here's a question, because they always, this was the accusation against Trump through his entire thing, is that he was trying to skirt the process by just cycling out acting people. If you're going to have acting members, especially for that long of a term, why not get them confirmed? Why not give them to the Senate to confirm? Especially when you have a 51-seat Senate that's in lockstep to you, there shouldn't be any problem. And cabinet positions don't require are not subject to filibuster either, which means they can do that on 51 votes. GAO also flagged the president for that the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the acting assistant admin of the Bureau of Asia at the U.S. Agency for International Development were in violation. In both those instances, according to the government executive, the officials' titles were recently changed and they were no longer in violation. The head of ICE, Tay Johnson, was acting director and now senior official performing the duties of director. ICE has also not had a confirmed director since 2013 and has 8 acting directors since. Okay, and again, confirm somebody. Get somebody down in the Senate. Let them deliberate over that person. That's what the Senate's there for. I have to, with hearing that, I've got to be right on with Ron Helton there and say, hashtag end this hashtag mafia government. The walls are closing in. That's right. It's done. They got him this time. Mike Pence subpoenaed by special counsel overseeing Trump probes, according to sources. From Catherine Falders and John Santucci. Now this, by the way, seems to have been confirmed. Former Vice President Mike Pence has been subpoenaed by the special counsel overseeing probes into former President Trump, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. It's not immediately clear what information from the subpoena from special counsel Jack Smith is seeking, but it follows months of negotiations between federal prosecutors and Pence's legal team. Smith was appointed in November to oversee the investigation into the potential mishandling of classified documents after leaving the presidency and obstructing the government's efforts to retrieve them, as well as a separate probe into efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the 2020 election, which is probably why Pence is there. And I'm willing to bet that when he goes in for the subpoena, he will say, just say whatever it is that we want you to, and we'll make sure that you don't face anything for perjury, and we might even make you president one day, Mr. Pence. Honk honk. A spokesperson for Pence did not respond to request for comment by ABC. A special counsel's office also declined to comment. So there's no comment to it, but sources say that he got subpoenaed, and I guess it does seem like they're actually saying that yes, this happened. No idea what they're looking for. Pence also in the news for trying to get back into politics. Pence Group launching grassroots Iowa effort targeting school transgender policies. From Brett Samuels. Former Vice President Pence's political advocacy group is launching a round of ads in Iowa pushing back against transgender-affirming policies in schools. Pence's latest outreach in the early voting state as he mulls a 2024 presidential bid. Advancing American Freedom, a group formed in 2021 by Pence to promote his agenda, announced Thursday a grassroots campaign focused on parents' rights. The strength of our nation is tied to the strength of our families, and we cannot stand idly by as the radical left attempts to indoctrinate our children behind the parents' backs, Pence said in a statement. Advancing American freedom will not rest until parental rights are restored in Iowa and across the nation. Specifically, the advertisements, rallies, and events will focus on policy adopted last year by a district near Cedar Rapids, allowing transgender students to request a support plan to help them socially transition at school, with or without a parent's permission. Well, that in and of itself is wrong, too. Pence is supporting a group of parents who are suing the Linn-Mar Community School District to overturn the policy. Arguments in the case are set to begin Wednesday in federal court in Minnesota. Parents' rights and the pushback against gender-affirming policies for transgender youth have been particularly animating issues for conservatives, with state legislatures introducing and passing bills aiming to block the discussion of gender identity in schools or the approval of gender-affirming care for those who are transitioning and targeting the transgender athletes in schools. Well, and that's kind of where I was going with that too. When I said when they said that they're bringing Pence in to go back and talk to Jack Smith, my concern is that it's going to be roll over, say what we tell you to say, and we'll make sure that we find extra ballots for you. We'll make you a president one day, Mr. Pence. As far as this goes, I mean, especially if it's grassroots, I actually support this. Let the parents have the say in what's happening in their schools to their children. That should be a no-brainer. Plain and simple. Alright, here's some good news. Are you ready for some good news? From Reuters. House votes to end foreign air traveler COVID vaccine requirements. From David Shepardson. Is this even being enforced at this point? That's a legitimate question. The House on Wednesday voted to end a requirement that most foreign air travelers be vaccinated, one of the few remaining pandemic travel restrictions still in place. The vote was 227 to 201, with 7 Democrats joining Republicans. No Republicans voted against the bill. The Biden admin in June dropped its requirement that people arriving in the U.S. by air must test negative for the monkeypox, but has not lifted the CDC vaccination requirement for most foreign travelers. The White House said Tuesday it was opposed to the bill, saying the vaccine requirement has allowed loved ones across the globe to reunite while reducing the spread. And the burdens it places on the healthcare system in the U.S., it's not clear if the Senate will take up the bill. So they probably won't. And that's actually going to be the sad part of that. They probably won't. This is probably going to go nowhere, and you're still going to have to flash your Vax Pass in order to get into this country, which, again, I don't agree with. But that's also between the people visiting the country and the heads of state of that country. If you're going to be a guest in somebody else's country, you abide by their customs, no matter how much I disagree with them. Otherwise, don't go to that country. The U.S. Travel applauds House passage of bill to end vaccine mandate for international visitors. This is from the U.S. Travel Association. The U.S. Travel Association Executive Vice President of Public Affairs and Policy, Tori Emerson Barnes, issued the following statement on the U.S. House passage of H.R. 185, a bill to immediately end the CDC requirement for proof of vaccination for international visitors to the U.S. That's all that they have. But I mean, this is really well for them. And that's what they do, basically, is travel. Their entire lives are centered around travel. So yeah, you can see why they're happy about this, but yeah, I don't think the Senate or the President are going to take this up. Alright, just a few more, then we'll do things I like and things that I hate. Funny one for this one. Migrants abandon New York City for Canada with taxpayer-funded bus tickets. Finally, a good use of taxpayer money. I haven't used this one in a while. Are you ready for this one? Yeah, it's about time for something like that. If Canada wants to be super liberal and say, oh yes, no, immigration is a human right and we want to take care of all the people and America is so evil, let them have them. But this is from Jack Morfitt, Craig McCarthy, Bernadette Hogan, and Bruce Golding. Disgruntled migrants fed up with the Big Apple's crime and grime are taking off to the Great White North on bus rides paid for by New York taxpayers, the Post has learned. National Guard soldiers have been helping distribute tickets at the Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan to migrants who were headed upstate before crossing into Canada, several migrants said. Venezuelan native Raymond Pena and his family arrived at the gas station bus stop in Plattsburgh, New York, about 20 miles south of the Canadian border at 0400 Sunday. The military gave me and my family free bus tickets. I'm going to Canada for a better quality of life for my family. Bye. A National Guard source confirmed the soldiers on the bus terminal were directing migrants to workers who hand out the free tickets. Eric Adams Admin pays various companies that run the programs for migrants that include a reticketing so they can travel to other cities, a City Hall source said. But you're open borders. You want all the migrants there. Various nonprofits, including Catholic Charities, also help migrants who want to flee Gotham, the source said. A spokesperson for Catholic Charities Community Services said it helped thousands of new migrants, including some who reported a desire to relocate to other cities. The Catholic Charities provided some assistance for their travel expenses. Destinations are limited within the U.S. due to restrictions that prohibit migrants from leaving the country while on immigration parole, pending the outcome of asylum proceedings, a source said. But word has spread among the migrant community that Canada, where Prime Minister Trudeau has touted the country's proud long-standing tradition of welcoming people seeking safety, is the place to go. Well, bye. Migrants routinely tear up their American immigration documents while traveling from Plattsburgh to the Canadian border, with the Post seeing scraps of paper with references to the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement on the floor of a shuttle van. Okay, if that's what you want to do, have at it. And I think it's a little bit funny. It's funny on numerous fronts for this. Number one, these people were so desperate to get to this country. And the people in New York were so desperate to vote to let them come into the country freely and fairly and safely without having to go sneak and just walk right in. No documents, no checks, no nothing else. And the crime is so bad in New York City that now they're going to Canada to get away from it. and tearing up their immigration documents to do it. Alright. And some of the other things that are happening on the immigration front from Fox News. What do we have left? I got 3 left. I think we'll finish the news, and then we'll get down to things I like and things that I hate. I think we can finish everything today, you guys. Even with the big internet bubble that popped. Arizona hospital on brink of collapse after spending $20 million on migrant care. Nobody has a solution. Really? Not stopping the immigration flow? From Taylor Penley. Migrant patients are overwhelming a border town's sole hospital, straining medical resources and placing the facility on the brink of collapse without sufficient funding to accommodate the influx of people. Dr. Robert Tranchell, the president and CEO of Yuma, Arizona's Yuma Regional Medical Center, told co-host Rachel Campos Duffy on Sunday on Fox & Friends that the problem is nothing new. It's been a very long journey. We've been at this for well over a year now. We tracked our uncompensated care for a period of over 6 months, and we calculated that we provided over $20 million in uncompensated care to the migrants crossing the border. Tranchell said that neither the city, state, or federal government is providing funds to accommodate the costs associated with the migrant flux. He added that despite taking the issue to Arizona officials and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the problem remains unsolved. We just don't have a payer source. Everybody's sympathetic and everyone lends a listening ear, but no one has a solution, he said. We provided $20 million in care to the migrants that are crossing the border, and we just don't have a payer source for those individuals. It's not a sustainable model to have these continued rising expenses without a revenue source to offset that, he added. Well, they're going to wind up raising the cost of your health, or your health care rather, and then the ACA is going to go pick up the bill and drive up the rest of our cost more. We're fine today and we'll be fine tomorrow. The problem is, if this continues, it's going to build up and it's going to continue to be a problem. So, when people say that there's nothing but net benefit for illegal immigration, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Look at the expense sheet for a hospital like this. It's not good. From Insider, 6 western states agreed on a plan to make major cuts to water usage from the shrinking Colorado River. But California, the largest user of them all, wouldn't get on board. No, because California's sole purpose is to use up all the resources. You use up all your resources, all everybody else's resources. That's what they want to do. That's what they've always done. From Kelsey Vlamis. Western states failed to come out to an agreement this week on how to cut water usage from the Colorado, even as the waterway is drying up and failing to replenish the water supplies that cities, farms, and millions of people rely on. Well, 6 of the 7 states that are part of Colorado River basins did come to an agreement, but California, the largest user of water from the river, wouldn't get on board. The 6 states, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming, submitted their proposal for water cuts on Monday. After all of the states missed a deadline in August per request from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, the new deadline asked the states to propose a plan by the end of January that would cut water usage from the river by 15 to 30%. But after failing to sign on that plan, California submitted its own proposal on Tuesday. Both proposals recognize that something major needs to be done. Sharon B. Megdal, the director of the Water Resources Research Center at the University of Arizona, told Insider, adding, "We need a total readjustment or total recalibration of what we're doing." They at least put things down on paper, which is a lot better than not having anything to go off of, she said at the dueling proposals. Both plans propose major cuts, though differ in how, when, and from where those cuts would be made. According to Jeff Fleck, a professor at the University of New Mexico and an expert on the Colorado River, both proposals get to the same place over time, but the difference is in timing. California's cuts don't kick in until later, essentially a gamble on good hydrology, once again helping us avoid conflict by letting them use more water in the short term, Fleck wrote in the analysis of the proposal shared on his blog. Adding the sixth state proposal says go big when Lake Mead drops beneath a certain level. That would be sooner than under the California plan. Well, once again, California's going to use up the resources. And that's just going to be that, and if you don't like it, then you must just hate California. Reaction to the Project Veritas release from, what was that, 2 weeks ago now? 2? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Leaked Pfizer document shows embattled employee from Project Veritas video is still employed. Warns against more anti-science stings. And yet, somebody in Pfizer, or the government, or somewhere else is going to get on that Tinder date with a girl who is way out of his league, way out of his league, and just spill the beans when she starts asking questions. Just like they always do. From Ben Ziesloft. Embattled Pfizer employee Jordan Tristan Walker appears to still be employed by the pharmaceutical company after he allegedly revealed confidential information about the firm to an undercover Project Veritas journalist, according to a leaked document which the drug maker warned employees to watch out for anti-science activists. Walker, who leads the research and development for mRNA projects at Pfizer, told an undercover Project Veritas reporter that the company's COVID vaccines are impacting women's menstrual cycles, and that the company uses directed evolution to mutate coronaviruses for the creation of more potent variants and vaccines. The document from Pfizer appeared to reference Walker as a current employee. We are aware of and managing a recent incident where one of our colleagues was baited into a conversation in a social situation and recorded without their knowledge, the document said. Fact-based information rooted around in sound science is vitally important to preserving Pfizer's scientific innovations, reputation, and trust with business partners, and ultimately enables us to deliver breakthroughs for patients, the document continued. Anti-science activists are becoming increasingly brazen in their drive to gain and manipulate information, fueling the spread of baseless claims and endangering public health. Now, this could mean a million things. Now, the document going around is basically telling the employees, hey, watch out if that girl that's way out of your league seems way too interested in what you have to do for work, and get out of the situation as fast as you can, which is an understandable position to be in from any for-profit corporation. And I don't agree with what Pfizer is doing with all this, but from anywhere with a for-profit, especially if there's maybe some shaky parts of the business model, I mean, even then and there, you should be cautioning people for this because it's all out there. But when they say colleague, now this doesn't necessarily mean that he's still employed, and he may not be employed, but this could mean a million other things. I would need more confirmation from this than just what they have in this article. So I'm going to call this one a wash. And the last news article that I have before we get into things that I like and things that I hate, and this is kind of a thing that I like too. Gunman who killed 22 at a Texas Walmart pleads guilty to dozens of hate crimes. Good. Give him the chair. From Tim Stello and Andrew Blankstein. A gunman who confessed to targeting people of Mexican descent in a mass shooting at a Texas Walmart that left 22 people dead pleaded guilty Wednesday to dozens of hate crimes, federal authorities said. To the chair with you! Do they still do the chair in Texas? Will he put a light bulb in his mouth like Uncle Fester? Patrick Crusius, 24, entered the plea after federal prosecutors said last month that they would not seek the death penalty on the August 3rd, 2019 rampage in El Paso, which, by the way, this happened in 2019. It's now 2023. pleaded guilty to 23 counts of hate crimes that resulted in death and 22 hate crimes that caused great bodily injury and involved an attempt to kill, the Department of Justice said in a news release. He also admitted to 45 gun crimes. The release said, as part of his plea agreement, he agreed to a prison term of 90 consecutive life sentences, one for each count of the indictment, according to a release. White nationalist-fueled violence has no place in our society today, Assistant AG Kirsten Clark of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division said in a statement, on which we agree. I mean, you can have your own effed up beliefs if you want, but the second you start hurting someone, off with your head. The second you start putting that messed up belief into the actual commission of a crime that involves hurting or killing somebody, then yes, and even if the state doesn't get involved, the community should be able to kill you back. Plain and simple. This senseless massacre violates the law. All murder violates the law. Runs contrary to our values as Americans, it defies the principles of tolerance and inclusion that define us as a nation. So good, get rid of this guy. Just get rid of this guy. I think a part of this was that he wanted the cops to kill him, though, honestly. Alright, let's do a few things that I like and a few things that I hate. We have actually got a lot on the tail end of this here. So, let's get started. Things that I like. Number 1, Tim Allen confirms he's back as Buzz Lightyear for Toy Story 5. They tried to replace him. They tried to get rid of him. And he's back. Because nobody can be Buzz. Except for Buzz. From Katie Jerkovich. Tim Allen definitely got everyone's attention when he confirmed he's returning as the voice of Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 5 after Disney's CEO Bob Iger announced a new sequel was in the works. Now, I am not a huge fan of having Toy Story 5. I really wish they could come up with new ideas. And not, like, Toy Story in itself was a new idea, a new concept. The 69-year-old actor tweeted a photo of the character Buzz from the monster hit animated film franchise Toy Story, following the flop of Disney's 2022 Pixar prequel, Lightyear, which recast the spaceman with Marvel's Chris Evans. See you soon, Woody. You're a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Allen tweeted in a now-viral post. And off we go to number 5, to infinity and beyond. Allen's comments came only hours after Iger announced the studio was currently developing sequels for Frozen, Toy Story, and Zootopia, as previously reported. Allen previously broke his silence on Evans voicing the iconic spaceman in the origin-based film. He said, "There's no connection to his famed character in the animated franchise, though he wished there was." The short answer is, I've stayed out of this because it has nothing to do with my character. This is a whole new team that really had nothing to do with the first movies. And that's understandable. And again, with all the attempts to try to cancel Tim Allen for being overtly Christian, for being overtly religious and even conservative, nobody can be Buzz but Tim Allen. It's kind of like where people try to revoice Darth Vader with somebody other than James Earl Jones. It just doesn't work. So, congratulations. I will probably not see this movie, but I'm very happy that it's going to the most qualified actor out there. Some news on the earthquake. Miracle newborn rescued from earthquake's rubble survives with umbilical cord intact. Family perishes. So, I'm sad about the fact that the family perished, but the new life gets to go on and live. And I hope that they died protecting their child. If they had to die, I hope they died protecting the newborn. I really do. Because that does seem to be one of the big purposes of life, is protecting the next generation. A newborn was rescued from the rubble of her family's home in Syria after one of the deadliest earthquakes in a century, NPR and other outlets reported on Tuesday. We heard a voice while we were digging, a cousin, Khalil al-Suwadi, told agents France Press. We cleared the dust and found the baby with the umbilical cord, so we cut it and my cousin took her to the hospital, NBC News reported. The baby and her deceased mother were reportedly still attached by the umbilical cord when rescuers freed the infant from the rubble. God is good. Again, it's such a shame that mom and dad had to pass away, but the most innocent among us was saved. God is good. The baby's family, including her mother, father, 4 siblings, and aunt, did not survive, the cousin told AFP. The family home in Jindara, Syria, near the Turkish border, collapsed after the earthquake struck Monday morning. Another child, whose name is Noor, was rescued from beneath the rubble and twisted rebar in the same small town in northwest Syria, the Associated Press reported on Tuesday. God is good. That should have been the most tragic thing, to lose another newborn in the midst of this. Instead, the newborn was saved. It does still blow that the rest of the family had to die because of this. But the most innocent among us, by a miracle, was saved. Couple more things that I like. From Just the News, 30-year-old Portuguese dog breaks record for oldest dog ever recorded. Man's best friend. Pooch beats previous records by about 7 months. A long-lived Portuguese dog holds the notable distinction for being the oldest dog ever recorded in history, Guinness World Records said this week. The record organization said in a statement that Bobby, a purebred Rafeiro do Alentejo in the coastal Portuguese city of Lieira, has been confirmed as not merely the oldest dog alive, but the oldest dog in history. Bobby is 30 years, 266 days old as of 1 February 2023, Guinness World Records said in the announcement. The dog's age has been confirmed by several animal authorities in Portugal. Bobby reportedly survived being euthanized with his brothers and sisters after his litter was born. Bobby's owners, meanwhile, told Guinness that the calm, peaceful environment of the area may have something to do with the astonishing longevity. Man's best friend. For 3 decades. How about that? How about that? One more. And again, this is a story of you, the people, being able to tell the agency that you're buying from what you think about that, or what you think about them. Netflix backtracks on password sharing rules following internet backlash, from Sammy Burke. Streamers were furious about the guidelines that went live earlier this week. Netflix is backtracking on its new password usage rules after an initial set of guidelines went viral earlier this week, sending users into furious tweet storms and threatening to cancel their subscriptions. Yeah, I probably would have. I'm not going to lie, I probably would have. My parents use Netflix more than I do at this point. The posted rules included a requirement for all devices using the same account to be linked to the same Wi-Fi, for all devices to log in and stream on that Wi-Fi every 31 days, and for a user to set a primary location, which has to be a television, leaving regular travelers, college students, and many more demanding to know how the company would accommodate them. Now the company is alleging that those rules only apply to account holders in Chile, Costa Rica, and Peru, and that they went live in other countries by mistake. No, they didn't. They got caught, and they backed down. For a brief time yesterday, a Help Center article containing information that's only applicable to Chile, Costa Rica, and Peru went live in other countries. A spokesperson from Netflix told The Streamable, adding, "We have since updated it. Those rules, which have been posted on Netflix's website, have been removed according to the publication." No, this is like the PayPal thing. Again, and You know how I know this one is like the PayPal thing? Because they've been threatening this for months. They have been threatening over and over that they were going to do this. So why wouldn't we believe them when they say that they're going to do it? Netflix is currently testing an anti-account sharing features in a number of Latin American countries, but according to the streamer, most options have resulted in significant pushback from users. The spokesperson went on to explain that if the streaming service does elect to implement those or any other restrictions in the US, it wouldn't do so without first communicating the details to its customers. So, do pay attention, because they're going to do this again, by the way. They're going to try this again. And let them know that especially for families. Now, I could understand where some of these people are letting 5 or 6 different girlfriends, boyfriends, etc. go back out or do things like that, or friend groups or stuff doing that. Because, I mean, it's not a big fee. But for like who's on mine? My mom, my dad, my sister, and then myself. Then we've got the kids account because, I mean, I've got the premium subscription, which means we can only have 4 plus the kids. So this is legitimately my immediate family using my Netflix and nobody else. Paramount might be a little bit of a different story, but they don't crack down on that. But even there, with my sister paying the Disney Plus, again, that is my parents, her kids, and myself. All immediate family. But, you know, it is what it is. And again, they're going to try this again. Alright, now for a few things that I hate. New York Post reports majority of Americans in favor of banning all tobacco products survey. Now, I rarely use tobacco products anymore. Cigars are still my poison, but occasionally if I get overly stressed, I'll pick up a pack of cigarettes. But that doesn't mean I want the government to tell other people that they can't use these products. From Jane Hers, more people are passing on the puff puff. Majority of Americans support a ban on all tobacco products, according to a new survey from the CDC. The poll, which was published in the peer-reviewed journal Preventing Chronic Disease on Thursday, asked people if they would support policies for a ban on menthols and the sale of all tobacco products. Out of the survey's 6,455 participants, 62.3% of the people supported a ban on menthols, and 57.3% were in favor of a policy that would stop the sale of tobacco products overall. Within the results, there was a disparity based on sex. Generally, more women aged 18 to 29 were in favor of getting rid of menthols, and about the same for a ban on tobacco. The public is ahead of policymakers and even public health on the issue, said Ruth Malone, a researcher on tobacco and the editor-in-chief of the journal Tobacco Control, told Stat News. We need to be bold and we need to be the braver. There's a lot of anxiety over calling for something bold like this. The new results from the survey could represent a step in the right direction for the bar on tobacco products. According to a 2018 poll by Gallup, 25% of adults in the U.S. supported a smoking ban at the time. However, the Gallup poll was a bit harsher on what they considered a total smoking ban, as they simply asked if smoking itself should be illegal here. And once again, I don't smoke cigarettes that often. I do still occasionally. But I don't care if somebody else does it, as long as they're not blowing it in my face. That's the position that we should be at right now. And 4 on abortion right in a row are the other thing that I hate. The Blaze reporting Brain-dead women should be used as surrogates for anyone wishing to avoid burdens of gestating a fetus in their own body, Professor proposes. No, they shouldn't. Can you imagine this, by the way, for a second? And we'll read into this a little bit, but can you imagine for a second a woman in a coma that actually does suddenly get better by some miracle of science, now sitting up and is 7 months pregnant and has no idea how she got there? From Candace Hathaway. A recent report by a Norwegian professor proposed that brain-dead women can, and even men rather, should be used as surrogates for anyone who wishes to avoid the risks and burdens of gestating a fetus in their own body. We'll get past the stupidity of the transgender movement off that for a second. According to a report published in the Journal of Theoretical Medicine and Bioethics titled The Whole Body Gestational Donation by Anna Smajor, a professor of practical philosophy at the University of Oslo, whole body gestational donation offers an alternative means of gestation for prospective parents who wish to have the children but cannot or prefer not to gestate. Smajor stated that pregnancies could be carried to term in brain-dead women, and there is no medical reason why it would not be possible. Medically, no, you're actually right on that. There's no medical reason why it wouldn't be possible. But think about the ethics of that for just a second. It seems plausible that some people would be prepared to consider donating their whole bodies for gestational purposes, just as some donate parts of their bodies for organ donation, Smajor claims. Right, but that's after you're dead. The report proposed implementing the existing organ donation framework to allow potential candidates to consent to become whole-body gestational donors. But you're still alive. And again, this is reducing. I applaud the effort, I really do, to try to get more babies into the world. But this is not the way, folks. This isn't it. Smajor addressed the possible feminist concerns over WBGD whole body gestational donation and suggested brain-dead men could also be used for gestation, expanding the pool of potential donors. And by the way, this is a real thing. BioEdge reporting this. New Horizons for Surrogacy, the whole body gestational donation. From Michael Cook, and this is from January 17th. And this goes to an op-ed that just tries to make this all seem out, well, good. I'm going to put this in topic chat, and I want to discuss this because this is, this is wrong, yo. But that's what we have for that. Taylor Swift from Life News Now. Taylor Swift, I'm a Christian and people with real Christian values support abortion. No, Taylor, they don't. What's funny about this is Taylor Swift sold her soul long ago. Astracia over on Twitter, who is a mutual follow with me and is a good follow, by the way. If you don't follow Astracia, had pointed out, I actually lifted this article from her tweet that said that Taylor Swift sold her soul the first time she sold a record. And I said, I don't think it was the first time she sold a record. I don't think it was until 1989. From Micaiah Bilger, by the way. Taylor Swift seems to believe that she can be Christian and support the killing of unborn babies with abortions. In a new Netflix documentary about her life, Miss Americana, Swift insisted that she is a Christian, even though she promotes political causes that go against Christian teachings, CBN News reported. The celebrity has been increasingly vocal about her political beliefs over the past several years. In August, she told The Guardian that she supports legalized abortion. Obviously, I'm pro-choice, Swift said. A year earlier, she endorsed Democrat Phil Bredesen in the Tennessee Senate race against Marsha Blackburn, a leading pro-life activist. Blackburn won anyway and continues to be a strong voice in the U.S. Senate. In a new documentary, Swift talked about the moment she decided to become more vocal politically. One clip from the show shows Swift trying to explain what led her to speak out on her politics beliefs, particularly her endorsement of Phil Bredesen against Marsha Blackburn. This was a situation where, from a humanity perspective and from what my moral compass was telling me, I knew what I was right. I really didn't care about the repercussions, Swift said. So, Swift said Blackburn's pro-life beliefs disgusted her. I have not listened. I think Shake It Off is the last Taylor Swift song I actually enjoyed. But it keeps getting more recycled and worse. Over and over again. She's good looking, don't get me wrong. But more of this is coming, I think more of this is coming from the pressure of having to stay in the spotlight. And I think that she knows that if she doesn't spout this sacrifice to Moloch, then they will destroy her career. And you know that they will. And lastly, from The Blaze, a servant caste federal judge argues abortion could be legal under amendment that outlawed slavery. From Chris Enlow, which circles back to what they were talking about, whole body gestational donation. You are a slave at that point. You're alive. Physically, in every sense of the word, you're alive. But your body's being used as an incubator, possibly against your will. One federal judge suggested Monday that abortion rights may be protected by the 13th Amendment, the constitutional provision that outlaws slavery. District Judge Colleen Collar-Cotelli, a Clinton appointee, argued the Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs, which overturned Roe, was narrow and limited to the question of whether abortion is protected under the 14th Amendment. The eyebrow-raising assessment was made in the case that involved nearly a dozen defendants who were criminally charged for allegedly blocking access to an abortion clinic in D.C. One of the defendants argued that the case should be tossed because the Dobbs ruling eliminated a federal interest in protecting abortion rights. But that's not true, Collar-Cotelli claimed, because it's entirely possible the Supreme Court might have held in Dobbs that some other provision of the Constitution provided a right to access reproductive services had the issue been raised. However, it was not raised. One of the constitutional provisions that may contain some right to abortion access, Collar-Cotelli claimed, is the 13th Amendment. The 13th is one of the 3 Reconstruction Amendments ratified after the Civil War, outlawing slavery except as punishment for a crime. The text of the 13th Amendment does not mention abortion. It reads, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the U.S. or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." The novel idea that abortion rights are somehow protected by the 13th Amendment first surfaced in a legal article more than 30 years ago. Collar-Cotelli cited the article titled "Forced Labor, a 13th Amendment Defense of Abortion" in her opinion. The article, which acknowledges that Roe is an unpersuasive opinion, essentially argues that women become like slaves in the service of their unborn child and eventually their children. Forced pregnancy is a deprivation of individual liberty. The article claims that it's selectively imposed on women, and women are a group that has traditionally been regarded as a servant caste. Those powers, unlike those of men, are properly directed to the benefit of others, rather than themselves. Compulsory motherhood deprives women of both liberty and equality. Look, I can sit down and make the pro-life arguments all day. I still don't trust the state to enforce the pro-life position. Rather, taking extensive measures to make sure that in my personal life, I never need to be involved with an abortion. But this is a stretch beyond a stretch. And by the way, if you're going to consider labor, perhaps, but carrying the pregnancy as a form of labor, you're in a position right now where you're also possibly putting women unable to be in higher paying jobs because of conflict of interest if they were to happen to get pregnant, even on a voluntary basis. If a woman and her husband decide to have kids, well, you're violating our labor contract, our non-compete clause. Now you're having kids. Now you can't be in a position. This is not a road that you want to go down. But they will do anything to get the right to abortion back in the Constitution in invisible ink where you can't see it on the Supreme Court without having to legislate it. Yeah, now do child support. There you go, Randy. But with that, with all the stuff that we had up there, we finished everything today. Ran a little bit long, but such is life. I'm a little surprised because there was a lot up there. But with that, let's head out of here for the day. Wow, thank you everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat, everybody who came and hung out. It's been a good show. We've had some good names, some new names in here talking about the news and what's going on there. We'll be back here tomorrow with more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And we'll be reading more of your live chat throughout the show and reading some of your live chat, especially at the end. Also giving a thank you to everybody who chatted in the live chat through the week. So make sure that you get your names in there so I can say thank you to you at the end of the week. Otherwise, come back here and join us for more of that. It's going to be a great time. It's always a great time over here on Contemporary. Stick around if you're over on the Twitch side. We're going to go raid somebody, and I think it's going to be the Daily Ignoramus, because I think he's still going to be on right now. Get the Twitch up here, and I can say yes or no on that briefly. Oh, I'm on that. Yes, briefly. We will be going to the Daily Ignoramus after this, so come back in. Stick around with us over on that side if you're over on Twitch. And by the way, get over on Twitch. It's a way better platform. And it does help me out financially a little bit too. As you guys watch more ads, it does help me out there. So get over on Twitch. Otherwise, we'll see you here tomorrow for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. Take care. Have a good night. Be safe. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar. And this is Contemporary. Take care.